Hey guys, Chris here with the Good Old Gamer. For those of you in America, happy Independence Day. And for those of you that are not, welcome to July 4th and have a great day with that. Sorry, I was just reading over some of the comments and some of you guys are like, oh man, it's just a regular day over here. Well, it is a July 4th and I hope you guys are having a good day anywhere that you are. So, we're going to start off with just a simple Q&A while we let some of the people that want to be fashionably late get on in here. So, for example, Sky Mage, I see you were asking about how long a Vega 64 will last. You're thinking 2020-ish, and, well, it really just depends on what you're trying to do. With the next-gen consoles coming out, I kind of explained in that video why I think you want 2.5 times performance to last that entire generation. And that's because some games will run at 30 frames per second, so you, as a PC gamer, want to run at 60, so obviously you're going to want twice the performance, and then due to lack of optimization and things like GameWorks and other crap that comes up, that's why I said 2.5 times makes a lot of sense. Now, the Vega 64 is probably going to be about on par with whatever the next-gen GPU is going to be, somewhere in that range. So you will be able to last the entire generation, but games that run at about 30 frames per second on, on those consoles at that resolution, at those quality settings, you will need to go ahead and basically mirror that and maybe even go a little bit lower if optimization is pretty bad. So a Vega 64, 1080, GTX 1080 class, the 1080 Ti, even something like a Vega 56 or a 1070 Ti, those are going to last as long as you want them to. If you want to run at lower resolutions like 1440p or 1080p, they're going to last even longer. Now, new technologies such as the real-time ray tracing, things like that, that may come into effect. The older architectures might have some issues with that. So, we'll have to see there. Maybe there's some features you won't be able to use, but the GPUs will still be good for a very long time. So you got to figure if the PS5 comes out next year, it's going to last at least 6 years. So you'd be looking at 2025 before that GPU is completely worthless. The only way that it could be an issue for something like a 1080 or, the NVIDIA cards, the Vega cards have the high memory bandwidth controller, the HBCC there. So you don't have to worry about that so much, but like 8 gigabytes of RAM may not be enough if they pump the next-gen consoles with tons of RAM. I'm expecting about 16 gigs, but if they go crazy with something like 24 or 32, that allows for a much bigger, there's a lot more resources there for the GPU to take advantage of versus the 8 gigabytes on, let's say, like a 1080 or something. So that's my thoughts. I don't think anybody really needs to worry about it. It just depends on what you're going to be doing. But if you want to run games at the same quality settings, like if they're running 4K 30 and you want to run 4K 60, you need something that's way more powerful if it's a GPU-limited game. Considering that it's going to be running Ryzen, I'm pretty sure most games are going to be GPU-limited. Let's go ahead and check out some of the questions here. Alrighty. Good morning, Muskie. Alright, anybody else have any other questions before we get started here? I wanted to kind of do this for about 5, maybe 10 minutes. Then there's some information I want to go over with you guys. Changes to the channel, new video series. It's hard to see, but I have a test bench set up right behind me right here. And there's some cool stuff coming there, and I want to talk about that. Go over some of the testing methodology that I have. And then I want to invite you guys to help out with the channel. Participate a little bit more. There's a bunch of things that I want to do that I simply can't do. This is a one-man show. It's just me. There's nobody else that works on this. I do everything from coming up with video ideas, producing them. I do everything. So a little bit of help here and there, which I alluded to in the preamble video to this one. There's a few things that I could use your assistance with. So we'll go over that. And then I'm going to talk about the return of Patreon, which is a part of that. It all ties together. Then we'll do another Q&A towards the end. And then after that, I'm going to go jump in the pool. And that's kind of how the day is structured here today for me. Osroll, is real-time ray tracing in games now? No. Will it be in games tomorrow? A little bit. Probably 5 to 10 years. More than likely, the next generation of consoles will really be taking advantage of it. They will implement small little bits here and there, kind of like what happened with tessellation. Started off real small, like on backpacks and just on, you know, random pieces in games. Just a few assets would have it. And then, well, then we had Crysis 2, and if you're unfamiliar with that, go look up NVIDIA and Crysis 2 and tessellation, and you'll see the shit show that happened there. They took it too far, and then they figured out how to actually implement tessellation properly in games nowadays. Okay, so what do I think? This is from SkyMage again. What do you think about VR in the future, especially Ready Player One? Well, I'm unfamiliar with Ready Player One, honestly. But VR, I think I talked about this actually on the last live stream. VR is going to be huge, not for gaming. It's going to be huge for businesses, especially in like the real estate segment or anything, architecture. Basically, anywhere you want to show somebody a product that you don't have yet. If you're trying to sell them on something, you can go ahead, generate a 3D image, then go ahead, walk around and interact with it. That is huge. That's something that we haven't had the ability to do in technology in a long time, or ever. This is the first time you can do something like that. Before, you could just show like 3D images or pictures or whatever, and it's really hard to get the look and feel of something just through an image, but people can actually interact. Same thing with like doctors. They can do virtual surgery and things like that, and that's a lot better than them cutting on somebody for the first time without having some sort of experience. So I think that's really handy, and that's where VR is really going to go. Like I said, I'm unfamiliar with the Ready Player One thing. I'll look into that, and I'll try to get back to you. But honestly, for games, VR is just a non-starter. It's just too niche. It's too expensive. It's just not going to catch on. There's no killer app for it. I know Bethesda's really trying with Doom and Skyrim and things like that, and that's really cool. And I'm glad that there's somebody trying to really make it work, but that's one company. And realistically speaking, nobody's going to shell out $400 or $500 or more for a headset and gear and gizmos and all this other crap. Until it's wireless, it's under $200. It runs on everything. It's just not going to work for gaming. And like I said, I don't think that's ever really going to happen. Alrighty. So, looks like we're at about 10:08, so we can go ahead and get this started. I want to go ahead and start off with the new video series that I want to go ahead and produce here, or what we're working on. I wanted to get the next video out tomorrow. Getting Patreon and everything set up and getting this ready to go, unfortunately, has pushed me back a little bit. Hopefully, the video will be up by Saturday, because all the testing's done. I just have to get the video produced, graphs and stuff made, things like that. So what I'm going to be doing, and some of you guys may have caught wind of this because I've talked about it at some point in the past, but I'm going to be doing benchmarks, IPC benchmark testing from the Pentium 4 Athlon 64 era all the way up to current, and I'm going to have a set graph showing all of the increases over time. See, IPC is one of those things that a lot of people think is a subjective thing, whereas it's a very objective tangible things. Basically, there are hard numbers that identify what IPC is, but nobody has just a set, hey, here it is. Like literally all it's going to be is a graph, and you can see the jump up. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using Cinebench R15 single thread performance. This way it's balanced, and this is what we use typically today for IPC testing. Now, the reason why we had to start with the Pentium 4 Athlon 64 era, and I can't really go back any further, is Cinebench requires a 64-bit Windows, and CPUs before that don't have 64-bit. So that's the reason why that's where we have to start, and we can build up from there. Now, to go ahead and make the testing as balanced as possible, because we're spanning generations, I'm using the AM2 platform for the AMD, not like 939. Nothing with DDR1. I want to basically remove all of the outside factors as humanly possible. So what we're doing is we're going to be starting with DDR2, 800 megahertz at 44412 timings. We'll go to DDR3, 1600, so it's twice the bandwidth, but we're going to double the timings up to 888 24, and then we will go to DDR4 3200, and then that will be 1616, 1648. This way you have double the latency but twice the throughput, and hopefully that will balance things out. Now there are a few CPUs over there throughout history that span generations. There's the Phenom II that works on AM2, and then there's essentially the same chip that runs on AM3. And I'm going to see if there's a differential between DDR2 and DDR3 before switching over to the DDR3 testing. And if there do need to be offsets, I will go ahead and do that. So this way it'll be as accurate as humanly possible. Now, first off, testing Pentium 4s on Cinebench R15, single thread performance. Oh, by the way, everything's at 3 gigahertz. That seems to be kind of the nice medium there where I can get CPUs pretty much at every generation at that clock speed. A couple of them need overclocking, and I'll cover that in a sec. But anyway, it's slow as hell. It's actually really kind of hilarious seeing this. So I tested 3 different Pentium 4s. We have the 630, the 830, which is a Pentium D, and then the 930, which is another Pentium D. Now, the reason why I wanted to test a couple of different ones is because you have the 630, which has a 2 meg L2 cache. Then you have the 830, which has 2 meg L2 cache for 2 cores, so basically 1 meg L2 cache. And then you have the 930, which has 4 megs of L2 cache, which is 2 megs per core. So I wanted to see if the reduction in L3 cache had any impact on the IPC. So that's something we will be covering and going over in that video. A lot of the stuff I'm talking to you guys about now, I'm going to refresh at the beginning of that video for people that aren't here. But the second half of the video, we're going to go over the Pentium 4 numbers. Then we will do the Athlon 64s, and then we will combine the two and add them together, see how they compare. Now, as we know, or as we all remember, back in the day, Athlon had a huge IPC advantage over Intel. But how big was it? I don't know, because nobody really tested these things. I'm sure somebody has a benchmark somewhere, but it's not a major publication and it's not widely spread. So that's why I think that this is going to be really fun. It's really interesting. And honestly, I haven't just done straight benchmarks like this in a long time, and I'm really enjoying doing it. So that actually leads me to the next video series that I just thought of the other day, and I'm actually going to check out your reaction after I bring this up to you, because this is something that I think is going to be really, really fun. I still have to look into it and make sure that it'll work. But what I want to do is I want to do like a mismatched hardware world record, 3D Mark world record attempts. So basically, what I'm kind of thinking here, and bear with me. So let's say I take like my 1600X right here, and then I pair it with like my GTX 6800 Ultra, and then I'm shooting for like the 3D Mark 2006 world record with that weird combination. See, that used to be a lot of fun, because on 3D Mark, you pick your CPU and you can pick the GPU, and then there are records for each subset of combinations out there. And there's a lot of combinations that people just never have tried. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. Like, how do these things pair together? I was joking with one of the followers on Discord yesterday. He was talking about putting his 8800, or his GTX 8800 with his 2700X Ryzen. And I was like, go for it. 3D Mark it. That's basically one of the ideas that I had, because it's just kooky and fun. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the channel, it's not fun. There's a lot of not fun things going on out in the world, and I want to have more fun. I enjoy just doing benchmarks for the sake of doing benchmarks, and having a goal to achieve. And this is also something that I think would be fun for you guys as well, because maybe you have some of those parts laying around and you can compete. Like, let's say I take a world record on such an odd combination as that. Then one of you guys want to go for it. You know, it's not like there's going to be a ton of people shooting for these records. It's not like the overarching world record. It's only in that small subset, you know, this CPU, this GPU. And I just think that'd be kind of fun. It allows for a little interactivity with you guys out there. And I think it'd just be different. We don't really see that. We see people doing budget builds out there with cheap CPUs and cheap GPUs and all kinds of stuff, but we don't see anybody just taking like one really old part, one really new part, and just saying, screw it, let's see what happens. So that's just something that I was thinking about. So I want to actually get your guys' feedback on that here real quick. Okay, so Thomas Lansing, the first gen Phenom. Well, first off, I have some of the parts. These are parts that I need, which, by the way, I forgot for the IPC testing. I did put a list in the description below. If you guys have any of these extra parts laying around, or if you have any extra parts at all laying around that you just don't want, reach me on Discord. You can send them my way. I will go ahead and throw a shout out to you on any videos that use your parts. If you want me to put on like a channel or Twitter or anything like that, I'll definitely do that for you. But if you want to send anything my way, I will use them. And like I said, just because, you know, I want to do the hodgepodge videos, pretty much anything could be usable. It could be the biggest piece of crap video card in the world. I'm just going to keep it from PCIe newer. Basically the same thing with the IPC testing. But back to your question with the Athlon or the no Phenom 1. The Athlon X6800 is actually the Agena core, which is the same as the first Phenom. The reason why I need that CPU over any of the X4 Phenoms is it clocks to 2.8 gigahertz and it's a black edition. There is no 3 gigahertz Phenom 1. So I need that one and I just need to overclock it to 3 gigahertz. And then that will balance that one out. There are a couple other CPUs out there. Hold on, let me get this pulled up here. So like, for example, the X6800 does not run at exactly 3 gigahertz, and that's due to the fact that it has a weird frontside bus. So what I was thinking to balance this out is up this to 1069. So we're not running quite at stock, but we wouldn't also be running at 3 gigahertz. It'll be about 2.67 gigahertz or 2.66. So this will, the frontside bus will be running just a titch faster, and it will be running a little bit lower frequency. So I think that's the most balanced approach to get this as close as possible to that 3 gigahertz without actually doing any real overclocking. So there's going to have to be some compromise because not every CPU lineup out there has this available. So for example, that's the reason why I want the X27850 is just for the minor overclocking to get that to 3 gigahertz. So this way we can keep that 3 gigahertz baseline intact as much as humanly possible. Man, it's a lot easier when you're recording and, you know, you take a break, get thirsty quick. Greenham Gaming, yeah. They did some pretty cool stuff. I like their videos, but he doesn't really produce much anymore. I haven't seen anything from him in a while. Can't you just downclock the RAM? Well, we could, but then you'd have RAM with higher latency and the same clocks, and that doesn't really work either. So Cinebench isn't that particular when it comes to RAM. For example, like this system right here is running 4 gigabytes of DDR2. That's nowhere near being an issue as far as like size, but the speed, there's no real way to tell until I have the exact same CPU using DDR3 and DDR2 or DDR3 and DDR4. And seeing if there's any actual appreciable difference. I went online and I noticed that there might be like 1-ish%. Honestly, that's within margin of error, realistically speaking. So, you know, it's going to be as accurate as I can make it. Like I said, twice the clock speeds, or twice the latency, will keep it about as balanced as possible. So that's really the best method that I could think of. If you have a better option, let me know, but remember, you can't have the same timing or the same clock speeds with higher timings. That just won't work either. Thomas, yeah, no, that'd be great if you wouldn't mind sending me your old Phenom. Like I said, if you have anything just collecting dust on a shelf and you're like, this is too, you know, there's no value here to sell it. You know, going on eBay, wasting your time selling something for 15 or 20 bucks isn't worth it because they're going to take half of that anyway. But if you guys want to send them here, like I said, I'll go ahead. Any videos that I use that part in, I will throw a shout out directly to you. If you want me to like promote a website or anything for you, if it's like, if you have a YouTube channel or a Twitter account or anything, I'll say, hey, thanks to such and such, check them out over here. They provided this part. And that helps me out, and I can help you out. And that's a lot of what I want to cover in this live stream. I'm kind of setting the foundation now, but it's about you help me, and I can help you. And that's really the only way I can really see this channel growing the way that I'd like. MiG 16, yeah, the 3870 X2. I mean, something like that would be really cool. I should have put a list of stuff that I actually have, but I posted on our Discord yesterday. I have the 6800 Ultra 512 meg. I got that, luckily, before they all got snatched up, and now they're stupid expensive. I have the X850 XTPE. So those are the same class GPUs from the same years, and I wanted to do a head-to-head on that. And maybe I'll do that at some point. I got a bunch of junky video cards like X1300s. I got a couple of those laying around. Actually can't even remember. Most of this stuff's kind of smaller, just old stuff that I got in, like, you know, pre-built systems. I just pulled them out and they're just kind of sitting on a shelf somewhere. But as far as CPUs go, I bought a crap ton of CPUs for this IPC testing. As you can tell from that list, I was expecting to do something else. Unfortunately, I was wanting to just downclock everything to 2 gigahertz. I couldn't remember if the Pentium 4 class allowed for downclocking, and it doesn't. So I have a bunch of CPUs, all kinds of different clock speeds, because I figured I could just go down on everything. Can't. I bought a lot of 3 gigahertz CPUs, and so it makes sense to just kind of stick with that. And then as far as, like, that's really all it's going to be is CPU, motherboards. Motherboards, I'm pretty good on the AMD platforms. I have AM2 Plus, AM3 Plus, and actually, hold on one sec. And I actually got those at a really good deal from Aaron McKay. Sorry, buddy, I forgot your name, but I got your letter right next to me if you're watching this. He sold those to me through Discord, and I was able to get those at a very reasonable price because they wanted a good bid on eBay. I got them for about 2/3 of what it would have cost me there, so he sent me a pretty good deal on that one. So we have pretty much all the AMD platforms. I have the LGA 775. I actually got my hands on an MSI 750 NVIDIA 750i SLI board, brand new in the box for like $30. So that was a really, really good deal. As far as Intel goes, that's pretty much it. I kind of sold off all my Intel stuff because, well, I wasn't really using it. I have my Ryzen system here. So now I have to go ahead and go pick all that stuff up again. It happens. If it doesn't downclock, just make it throttle. You have to remember, back in the day, the Pentium 4 days, they didn't really worry about throttling. They just let them catch on fire. Algorithm, that's just the way it used to go. So it's just a lot easier. We'll just do 3 gigahertz across the board. That's fine. I got plenty of 3 gigahertz CPUs that we can do. And obviously modern CPUs, you can just clock down. They just need to be unlocked to be on the safe side. And I need an overclocking board on the Intel side to make sure I can downclock everything. Alrighty, so I just wanted to go over that one. I do want to finish the GPC testing. That's another video series that I do want to continue as time goes on. There are a few video cards. I did put them in that in there that I was kind of interested in. Here, I actually can pull this up here. Alright, so this is the list of the parts that I'm looking for. So for example, like the RX 470, 570, I can compare that to the GTX 980. I actually had a discussion on Discord with somebody the other day on how these pair up. Vega 56 and 1080 Ti, that'd be a good one. Now, these are obviously very expensive video cards today. We give it a few years, we can go ahead and pick these up at much, much cheaper prices. So I don't need all of these right away. These ones right here I had, and I also had the R7 360, which is what I need to compare those to. I did the benchmarks, I had the numbers, but unfortunately, they disappeared. I don't know what happened to them. So I have to go ahead and re-benchmark the AMD R7 360. That's a card that I need, and then I can get up another 2 GPC videos there. So I do want to finish that up, and then in the future, we can continue doing that series once parts become more available or more affordable for basically just running one set of benchmarks. All right, and then the other video series that I'm really excited about, and I'm glad that it's doing pretty well. It's doing better than I thought it would. It's not doing as well as I would have liked, but the how does it hold up today videos. And the first one that I did was Doom. How does Doom's multiplayer hold up in 2018? And I think that that's a very relevant question for somebody who's interested in the Doom multiplayer here today. And this continues for everything. So, for example, the next one I'm thinking about doing is, how does Half-Life hold up today? The original Half-Life. Because a lot of us have very fond memories of the game, and then there's a lot of people, there's a whole generation that have never played it. The original Half-Life was never on any major consoles. It was on PS2, but for the most part, nobody really played it on console. It's a PC game. And with how tight the controls need to be, you really should only play it on PC. But like I said, there's a whole generation out there that may not have ever played the original Half-Life. Meanwhile, they're out there screaming, "Where's Half-Life 3?" which I find hilarious. But I want to go ahead and continue that series because I think that that's helpful to people. I also was really happy on the last video that I did. I showed some Battle Chasers Night War. And somebody immediately went out there, picked it up, and did what I did, and just had a 7-hour grind on it and really liked it. So that was like that's a lesser-known game that I was able to bring out there and show to you guys, and somebody is now really, really enjoying that. And that's really nice. I really like and enjoy, you know, showing you guys things that maybe you didn't know existed. So that's why I want to continue that series. And then there's a couple other ones that I'm thinking about doing. Like I said before I went on break, I want to get away from the news, or mostly the rumor stuff. You know, that's kind of been the bread and butter of the channel, but the channel hasn't really been growing at the rate that I would really like. These videos are easy to do. I mean, my typical day is I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, get home at 4:30. I have about an hour and a half to myself. Then, you know, spend a couple hours with my wife. And then I have another hour or so to myself. And then that's it. And then you go to bed and then you do it all over again. So there's not a lot of free time in my life. So doing these little videos don't take that long. Doing actual videos where I have to capture footage, going ahead and, you know, formulating an actual opinion instead of just reading something off and then just throwing out there a quick opinion. Even something like the next-gen consoles, that takes more time. So I'd rather do more videos like these that actually have real effects for people, you know, real information, not just regurgitating information out there. So that's really where I want to go. And then I also did the video, you know, where the personalized video where I was showing you guys off my pool and stuff like that. The reaction to that was about what I was expecting. It's obviously a little bit different, but that's something that's going to be for the some of the patrons. Some of the patrons are going to gain access to like little vlogs and stuff like that. And that's going to be a tier there. But I wanted to have something out to show you kind of what I was talking about, or what I'm going to be talking about on that. Alrighty. So next up, the big thing is how do we get all this going? I'm telling you about all these video series that I want to do. And then I'm telling you I don't have a lot of time. So it's like kind of a cross mixed message here. So that's where reintroducing Patreon really comes into play. The only way that the channel can get to the level where I think it needs to be, we're kind of stuck at this point where I'm too big to not produce good quality content. But I'm also too small to have the time and the resources to really compete with people that have all the time and the resources in the world. So Patreon's really the only answer for this. This is the only solution that I can come up with. And the only way we can get things moving forward is I need more time and more resources. And by doing this, if you guys have as little as just $1 a month, that will really help me out. Now, I did the math here. The main goal is to get up to about $2,500 a month. At this point, what I can do is I can actually go ahead and do the good old gamer full time. This means I can do videos daily. This is a huge step forward. It'll deliver the freedom to go ahead and deliver more and higher quality content for you guys on a more regular basis. And that's about as true as it gets. Now, that's a big ask of the community, of a community this size. Literally, it comes out to being about 22 cents per subscriber. And that's it. And then I could go ahead and run this channel with complete autonomy, have all the time in the world, and go ahead and deliver the best quality content out there. There's sometimes I have to produce videos that I'm not super happy with just because of time restrictions, and I don't like that. Now, the reason why I haven't brought back Patreon, not yet, is because I wanted to make sure that I could deliver reward tiers that I felt were worth it for you guys. Now, this is really important to me. I don't want to go ahead and just put up just random anything. I want to make sure that it is absolutely worth it to you guys to go ahead and do this. Obviously, the better content is great, but we went ahead and I streamlined it to just 4 reward tiers. First off is just $10 a month. What that's going to do is that's going to get you an exclusive Discord role, which will give you access to a special channel on there that only other patrons will be in and myself. So this way you can discuss more of the financials of the channel with them and with me, and then we can kind of figure out a nice route moving forward there. As I said, I'm the only person working on the channel, and the more voices and more constructive criticisms out there and things of that nature, that will help propel things forward. At the $10 mark, you will also gain early access to scheduled videos. Some videos are scheduled to come out later on. Most of them aren't, but a few are, and you will gain access to those just a few hours or a day before everybody else. Silver tier starts at $20. This is the personal touch. And what will happen here is you will gain access to those Patreon-only vlogs. Like I said, it's very similar to that pool video that I did. It's so we can build a more personal relationship. You guys can get to know me as a human being instead of just a face on YouTube. I think that that's really nice. And then you will also go ahead and get a personal thanks whenever funds are used to go ahead and fund a video. Meaning, like, if I use Patreon money to go ahead and buy, you know, that 7850 CPU, everybody at this tier and above will be personally thanked on that video in one way, shape, or form. Next up is the gold tier. This is at $50 a month. Now here, you're starting to invest very heavily into the channel, and I really wanted to make it worth your while to do so. Not only will you get the better quality content and the Patreon exclusive stuff, you will also get personalized assistance with your PC builds. This means from inception, if you want to talk to me directly about, you know, hey, which parts should I use, things like that, to direct, you know, through direct email. And then I will also Skype with you if necessary, if you want any help, benchmarking, testing, anything like that. If you run across any issues, hey, why is my RAM not running? There was somebody on Discord today had that issue. I will Skype in and try to help you out at this particular point. And then finally, I couldn't think of anything cooler than a Super Saiyan, so I figured that would be the biggest tier. And this is at $100 a month or more. This really is game-changing. At this particular point, you're investing into the channel. I feel that you deserve something extremely special. So at this point, you gain access to a monthly live stream detailing the analytics and progress of the Good Old Gamer. So basically like a business roundtable discussion. A chance to voice your thoughts and opinions on how to grow the channel and topics to cover. You're obviously investing very heavily in the channel at this particular point. So you will have a very strong voice into where that money is going to go and where the direction of the channel is going to go. Well, alrighty guys, I just wanted to detail that with you guys. I want to go over a lot of the stuff in the Q&A. I'm sure there's a lot of questions there. A lot of that stuff's also going to be on the video on the Patreon page. If you guys wanted to get there, sorry, I keep jumping back and forth here. I went ahead and I've added it. Let's do this. All right, so I went ahead and it's added to the main page if you want to get there. It will be added to videos and things like that. The link just went up because I just finished this up yesterday. So I'll add it to the description here. So if you guys did want to go ahead and do that, first off, thank you very much. But that's really what I need to get this channel moving forward is I need a little bit of help. I've been kind of grinding my gears and stuck in the mud, and I just need a little help, a little pushing, helping hand to push me out of the mud and get things moving in the right direction. And the big thing is it's kind of the chicken or the egg type of thing. I need more hardware to talk about so that I can generate money through things like Amazon affiliates to then buy more hardware. Right now, I took that massive pay cut, changing my job, and unfortunately, I just don't have the resources I did last year. Last year, I was very well off. I was doing very well. I took the pay cut to free up more free time, and I just explained I don't have a lot of free time anyway. So just imagine how much fun last year was. But anyway, I did that to free up time, and because I can grow with this company to make even more money than I did last year. So I just have to start at the bottom and work my way up. So right now is just a really tough time because literally I can't even afford the $60 to go ahead and get the R7 360 that I want to pick up. They keep dropping it on eBay, and I'm like, crap, I just need a couple of bucks. It's just been kind of tough because I've had an anniversary. We did the pool, so don't think I'm that broke, but it's just bad timing right now. Well, alrighty, guys, that's kind of what I wanted to cover. That's the big stuff. I have big plans. There's stuff that I'm already working on, content that I want to do, and you guys can really help accelerate things along. And I really do appreciate anybody who even considers it. And like I said, the reward tiers start at $10, but you could do just $1. Just $1 helps. Every dollar helps. Like I said, if I got a quarter, or basically a quarter from every single sub, that's all it would take. And then I could leave my job, do this full time, and grow the business much, much faster. Because the more free time I have, the faster the channel can grow. The faster the channel grows, the more cool shit we can do. Because the more stuff I can buy, it's just kind of that's just how it goes. And I just need your guys' help to give me a little bit of a push here. And that's what I'm really asking for. And that's the reason why I'm doing this live stream. And that's the reason why I wanted to do it live, so I can answer any questions that you may have. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump over to the questions here and kind of see where your guys are at with this. All right, I'm just going to back up here and see what we got. Tom Lansing, I mean, that's a ton of video cards you have there. Yeah, I really like the older stuff, the Voodoo stuff, but like I said, I'd rather just keep it PCI, PCIe or newer, because they're all DirectX 9, so I want to use 3D Mark 03, Vantage, and obviously, 3D Mark, standard 3D Marks, such as Firestrike and Time Spy. So this way it keeps it simpler, and I'm not running like 10 trillion different benchmarks. If it's a DX9 only card, we're going to do 06. If it's a DX10 card, I want to go ahead and benchmark those on Vantage. And if it's obviously an 11 or a 12, just go ahead and use 3D Mark on that. Jordan Michael, hey Chris, I only turned 18 in literally 5 days and start college in 11. But once I get settled in school, I appreciate it. Like I said, even if it's just $1, I know everybody out there can handle $1. I mean, I can handle $1 for any cause that I feel is worth it. And that's the reason why I haven't pushed Patreon, and I've left it alone, because I wanted to make sure that there's enough value out there for you guys to want to invest. That's why the whole first half of this stream was me explaining to you what I want to do and the cool ideas that I want to do, because that's where that money is going to go, is into creating those videos. So there's no rush. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Just the sooner we can get to that point, the faster things can go is all. But I thank you for, like I said, even considering it. Paul McCaw, hello Chris from the big Northern Ireland. How's it going, my friend? All right, so Ryan Walson, good morning, Chris. Happy 4th of July. You're a little bit late, man. I covered a lot of shit. What was it? What are your thoughts on the Intel 28-core 5 gigahertz con job last month at Computex? I was kind of on my little hiatus when all that happened. Jim did a pretty good video over there on Adored TV about that, and I didn't feel it was even worth bringing up after I came back from my little break because of how silly it was. Everybody went absolutely apeshit. I saw it in comment sections and forums and all this stuff. Oh, 5 gigahertz on 28 core. It's impossible. It's impossible. You could barely do that on a 6-core CPU. I mean, anybody that thought that was a real thing, I thought it was literally like an overclocker just proving, hey, look how cool this is. I thought it was a professional overclock demonstration when I first saw the article. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that's great that it was even technically possible under any condition. That's the cool part, is the fact that it actually did happen and could run a benchmark. But nobody in the world should have actually thought that that was going to be a product that you're going to buy anytime soon. Realistically speaking, 5 gigahertz, 8-core CPUs is a big enough stretch of the imagination. A 28-core is going to take a very long time. At least 2 node changes, I would figure. Sky Mage, hey Chris, what do you think about, is the biggest reason why AMD is focusing on custom design and unable to compete with NVIDIA GPUs? Well, they were unable to compete with NVIDIA's Pascal. Let's be realistic. Hawaii competed very well against Maxwell. That's their respective price points. So GCN 2 was able to compete. GCN 3 was reasonably competitive. The Fury lineup started off behind, but that was mostly due to software. AMD's pretty much fixed the software side, except for when they launched Vega. That was kind of a mess, but then they fixed it again. Excuse me, let me grab a drink here. So them not competing with NVIDIA is only a Pascal generation thing. That's it. It's been 2 years. So it's not like this is some long-term thing. But the real issue is a lack of resources. Their CPU division is where they make money. And the FX series sucked. This literally forced them to have GPUs built at global foundries. That's the reason why we have 14 nanometer plus, or LPP, Polaris-based GPUs and Vega GPUs, is because they didn't have the money to order enough FX CPUs at the time to go ahead and satisfy their contractual agreement with them, so they had to buy GPUs from them instead of TSMC. TSMC makes much better GPUs. So not only were they hampered by the fact that their technology division had very limited resources as far as R&D, they also didn't have the money to produce GPUs at the best manufacturer to produce GPUs. So NVIDIA had manufacturing advantage just because of TSMC, not because of anything NVIDIA did, and the fact that their architecture is stronger. And of course, they're making billions of dollars every quarter. So their R&D budget's basically unlimited. So it's not that they're not competitive. The fact that they can even put out a product at this point is amazing. Now, focusing on custom design, basically you have Sony or Microsoft or whatever paying you, basically just giving you R&D money to build them a GPU that you can then go ahead and spin off and do your own thing with later. Now, there's probably contracts saying that you can't use the exact same technology or certain technologies, but there's a lot of tips and tricks that you learn building something for somebody else. I mean, think of it this way. If somebody paid you to build them a custom water-cooled computer, you've never done a custom water-cooled computer before, they're basically paying you to learn how to do it. And that's basically what AMD is taking advantage of by using the custom design. And it makes a lot of sense. You get free R&D out of the deal, and obviously get money to keep producing stuff, to keep on going. So I think that that's really smart by them, and they're doing whatever it takes to basically survive. Now that Ryzen's doing really well, things are going to change, but it takes years for that change to be implemented. Ryzen came out last year. So Navi's going to be kind of probably another Polaris, another mid-range, but very affordable and powerful GPU for what it is. And then after that is probably when we will start seeing the fruits of the Ryzen labor with the extra R&D and things like that. So that's where rumors are kind of leading us towards at this point, and I think that's how it's actually going to happen. Okay, Hawk Opal. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with names. Just want to let you know. Paul McCaw, thanks for the 2 lira. Thanks, buddy. That helps out. Every little bit helps. You did your part. Let's see. Any thoughts on the GPU power in the PS5? I hope it will be the level of... Okay, so GPU horsepower on next-gen GPUs. Xbox One X is already RX 580. Just is. Has more compute units, runs slower speed, same teraflops. It's the same GPU. Now, they're going to need to double that. That's going to be minimum. So you're looking probably 12 teraflop GPU at least for them to even waste their time coming out with the next generation console. They'll be 3 times more powerful than the PS4 Pro and twice as fast as the Xbox One X. So you're looking basically between Vega 56, Vega 64 level performance. Now, Navi will likely be able to match the Vega 64 at probably about 200 watt TDP. So I don't know if it's going to be a little bit lower, but you're probably within the 10 to 12 teraflop range at the bare minimum for it to even be worth upgrading. Now, Microsoft waiting an extra year, waiting till 2020 is going to allow them a little bit more advantage. They'll probably use 7 nanometer plus, and they might be able to clock higher and do a little bit more. But that's just my thought. It's got to be at least 3 times as fast as PS4 Pro and at least twice as fast as Xbox One X to even be worth its time. Okay, one hole. Is there any reason why AMD cannot manufacture CPUs at TSMC, and would it be better than GlowFlow? Well, CPUs seem to be doing just fine at GlowFlow. The process is designed for that. That's what the LPP stands for. It's low power profile, basically for like mobile chips. Here, let me take a drink. I'm dying here. All right. So Global Foundries, there's really no issue on the CPU side of things. The GPUs obviously are not anywhere near as efficient. That's the reason why I brought up the RX 580 and the GTX 1060 6GB. And you look at their die size, and they're basically similar. If you factor in the fact that we have a 256-bit bus instead of a 192-bit bus on the 1060, that makes up a little bit of that die space. You have 232 millimeter squared versus 200. The GTX 1060 can clock much, much higher and draws less power. So you have both. You have higher clocks and lower power. And it's basically the same amount of die and the same amount of transistors. That means that their process is much better over there at TSMC for that. Had Polaris been built over there, they'd probably be closer to 2 gigahertz, and power consumption would probably be about the same. If they had a 50%-ish, 40 to 50% increase in clock speeds, Polaris would, basically the RX 480 would have been on the level of the GTX 1070 at least. So that's a big advantage that NVIDIA had by using TSMC. The reason why that they couldn't do it is because they get fined if they don't buy enough silicon from Global Foundries. Global Foundries used to be AMD's manufacturing plant. They used to own that. They spun it off because it costs a lot of money to run a fab. And because their business goes up and down, they just couldn't afford it. So they spun it off. But part of the contract is that they have to spend X amount of money, I think it's per quarter, with them. Now, if they meet that, and the reason why they, using Ryzen, for example, build your Ryzen CPUs there, and because those are doing well, they can then buy whatever they want anywhere else because they're meeting their contractual obligation. So they're pretty much stuck with GlowFlow for one of their products no matter what. And that's the reason why that's how it goes. And that's the reason why Polaris had to be built there. And unfortunately, that just led to them being hamstrung. That's like somebody kicking you in the kneecap, you know, and tweaking your ankle before you go ahead and run a marathon. You know, you're starting one step behind, and there's really just nothing anybody can do about that. Sky Mage, Coke is bad. That's why I drink Pepsi. Alrighty. I'm just going to keep on going through, but if you guys have any questions about Patreon, any of the new video series I was talking about, the Mismatched, anybody have a cool name for that? I've been trying to figure out something that'd be really cool. I was thinking Mismatched World Record. That was going to be the name of the video series. I was kind of toying with that or something to that effect. Throw out any cool ideas there. That'd be great. That helps out. Pretty much anything you guys can do, or if you have any talents or anything and you do want to contribute to the channel, it doesn't have to just be financially. Like, a lot of people don't have money to give. I'm in a position where I could not really give out money right now. But if you have any talents or anything, just message me on Discord and be like, hey, I'm really good at graphic design. I'm really good at 3D modeling. Or if you're really good with like Blender and doing like really cool intros. Like, I like my new intro to the channel, but it's very simple and basic. So maybe you could do something much cooler. Background music. That's my big one. I'm not an audio guy. That's not my thing. I'm not really good at that. I went ahead and came up with 1 or 2 loops that I thought were pretty good. but the community didn't really like it that much. So if you can come up with royalty-free audio loops, background loops that are good, that people would like to have playing in the background while I'm talking, like in a situation like this, that'd be awesome. That helps out a lot too if that happens to be your niche. Just about anything you can do that you feel that would help, just let me know. Like I said, just hit me up on Discord. I'm on there usually at least once a day. Just check through everything, make sure everybody's, not killing each other. Came back to 300 and something messages yesterday after like an hour. I was like, whoa, somebody's having a conversation. All right, instead of me scrolling all the way back, if you asked a question that I didn't answer, please go ahead and just resubmit. That would make this a lot easier. All right. Arif Hussein, what do you think about the future of DRAM prices? Unfortunately, I don't think it's good. Most people out there feel that DRAM has inflated to the point where people have kind of gotten used to it. And it's probably going to come down a little bit, but I don't think we're going to see 2016 levels. Not for a long time. Not until DDR5 comes out and DDR4 is kind of on its way out. Nobody's wanting it anymore. Nobody's ordering it for their next generation products. That's kind of what happened in 2016. We moved from DDR3 to DDR4 like as a market. So there was a lot of DDR3 on the market. There was a lot of DDR4 on the market. So there was an oversupply. Now, if we can get 16 gigs of RAM back around the $110 to $120 mark for 3200 megahertz memory, I think that that's fine. That's still more than it was in 2016, but I think that that's acceptable. Will it get there? It's going to take a while. Basically, they're going to keep charging whatever they can until people stop buying. And realistically speaking, people are still buying. So it's just up to the market. It's supply and demand, unfortunately. Paul McCall, the Gold Gamer. Well, that's why I had to have Super Saiyan. That's more me. But yeah, I figured just a bronze, silver, gold tier. I'm like, that makes more sense. I couldn't think of any other cool names or anything like that. And it works well with the logo, I think. The good old IPC. I like that. All right, SkyMage, Chris, what is your gaming headphones headset? Well, that's right here. I use the Kingston HyperCloud Core. I went with the cheap ones because it's the same thing as the expensive ones. It works awesome. It's the best headphone set that I've ever had. I will probably never buy anything but these. The microphone sucks. I'll give it that. But I have a Blue Yeti right here. So if I need good quality audio, I'll use this. Techno 1200. I honestly think that fines justify the price maintained. Okay, that's not a question. Thought it was a question. Alan Turner, do you think AMD will do a R7 16-core 32-thread Ryzen 7 nanometer? Yes. Yes. 8 cores per CCX is going to happen. Because Epic 2 or 3 or whatever the next Epic is going to be, they've already said it's going to be 64 cores and 128 threads. Well, if you do the math there, you have 8 die available to make that happen. How do you get to 64 cores? Or what was it? It's 4 die, 8 CCXs. So that means 8 cores per CCX equals 64 cores and 128 threads. Now, for mainstream CPUs, that means that they can get away with a single CCX die, and that's going to be good for just about everybody. 8 cores and 16 threads for most users is going to be perfectly fine for the next 10 plus years. So that means the die is going to be even smaller because it's only a single CCX. We're talking basically the size of like a 2400G just cut off the Vega part. So that's how small we're talking about. And you also eliminate the cross CCX latency issue that they have with like gaming. So that helps them out in so many ways because your latency is now reduced, your cost is lowered, and you can deliver an 8-core 16-thread CPU pretty much as cheap as you want. They could sell them for $100 or less and still make a huge profit on them. So they're in a really good spot with that. Now, as to your point, the 16-core CPUs, why not just keep the same design that you have now and charge more money for it? Basically a bridge in between Threadripper, which will probably stay at the 32 cores on Zen 2. So you have 16 core and lower will be your mainstream, and probably 16 to 32 on Threadripper, and then 32 on up, you're probably looking at Epic. And it makes sense. It segments each branch, each market in their own way, because Epic's already jumped up and doubled in cores, or not Epic, Threadripper has. Epic's going to double next time around, and then Ryzen will double after that. So that's my thought. I'm like 99% sure. The only way that I would be more sure is if an AMD representative just came out and said it. But short of that, I'm as sure as possible. Mastermind Sigma, what is your opinion on the lack of Ryzen 6 8-core laptops at 45 watt TDP? Honestly, there's only two things that really make sense there. AMD's actual chips are bigger than Intel's because they're not monolithic. So they do take up more space. So I don't know if that's a bit of an issue cramming them into smaller areas. But AMD's like APUs really aren't that prevalent. And considering how big of a value they are, I mean, basically, if you just look at a 2200G, and basically that's what the R5 2500U is, it's basically just a 2200G, just with SMT enabled. Those are very cheap to produce, and they shouldn't cost that much, even for the lower powered versions. 15 watt versions, maybe an extra $20 or $30 per unit. They can build some really awesome laptops with those, but they're not out there. I can't really tell you why. I don't know. I'm not an OEM or an AIB, so I can't really tell you the reason why nobody's buying these chips and putting them into laptops. At first, I figured it was probably part of the GPP, and once GPP died, I figured we'd start seeing more, and maybe that is the case, but maybe it's just taking time for those to ramp up. I don't know. There's also the possibility that a lot of these people are just going to wait till Zen 2 comes out before they start using AMD APUs. They figure, screw it, we're about halfway through the product line anyway. Let's just wait for the new stuff that's coming out next year and then start from that point. But as far as the 6-core and 8 cores, I'm thinking it's either the power profile is too big, like it's just too big to fit in there. Maybe the thermals aren't as good as they need to be. We know that they're very efficient, but they're not, I don't know. At no point did I ever think a 65 watt Ryzen 7 1700 or whatever would fit good into a laptop. I just think that there needs to be more refinements there. I know that there are lower power profile versions, but like I said, maybe they're just not quite as efficient as they need to be. For example, I know Intel's really, really good when you turn off their hyper-threading. They become extremely efficient. The 6-core Coffee Lakes without hyper-threading are super, super power and heat efficient. So I don't know, maybe that's just a better value. All right, so Jordan Michael, so what core count do I think is going to be on Ryzen 3? I'm assuming you're thinking on the Ryzen 3000 series Zen 2. Well, you're going to have probably 8-core, 16-thread as your Ryzen 5, I would figure. I don't know, they might just go up the line. I don't know, do like Intel and make a Ryzen 9 for the 16-core and 12-core. More than likely, the baseline's probably going to still be, the Ryzen 3s are still going to be probably quad cores, 4-core, 8-thread. I think everything's going to have SMT enabled at that point. Just more than likely, I can just see them moving up the stack with the newer chips instead of bringing the stack down. Because you also have to remember, AMD is going to be basically market dominant next year. Intel does not have a working 12 nanometer or 10 nanometer process, which would be equivalent to TSMC or GlobalFoundries 7 nanometers. So they're not going to be able to produce a competitive product next year. AMD will be market leader as soon as Zen 2 drops. That's it. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no, oh, Intel, no, Intel has nothing. Intel's done, which is fine. Intel needs a few years on the bench. They need to be benched for a few years, lose some market share, then come back and compete again. That's just the way the market needs to go, so I'm fine with that, and that's what's going to happen. So they don't need to drop prices. AMD does not. They can actually start raising prices and start making more margin because they need to be able to compete when Intel does return with a new architecture and is competitive again. So you can't just be like, hey, this is great. That's what happened with the Athlon 64. That architecture was great. Their next architecture was not great. You know, the K10 really was not very good. And then you had another bad architecture after that. And you can't do that. You can't have two bad ones in a row. You can have a good one, then a bad one, then a good one, and that's fine. But two bad ones in a row is a real problem. So they really need to make sure that they can keep pace with whatever it is Intel can come up with Jim Keller, no less, helping them out, which is probably going to be an MCM approach, just like AMD has. So they have to be ready for that. So they need to make a lot of money over the next year or two. Sorry, just reading through. All right, Sky Mage. Would you buy a GPU from Intel in 2020? Sure, why not? If price to performance is good. Drivers are the real issue. It took AMD forever to get drivers under control. They're good now. I'm very happy with my RX 580 and the driver support. It's fantastic. It's better than NVIDIA's now, but it took them a long time to get their drivers up to snuff where the performance of their GPUs was being maximized and just simple to use and very effective. So Intel's they have a lot of money, but money doesn't really solve that problem. You need to have the right person designing your drivers. All right, Daniel Brook. Do you think there will be any real difference between PCIe Gen 3 and Gen 4 in the beginning? Nope. Say putting a PCIe Gen 4 future GPU in the motherboard with... No. PCIe Gen 4 comes in handy for things like M.2s. If you want to run like a RAID on M.2s, it essentially gives you double the bandwidth. So if you only have the 4 PCIe lanes extra for M.2, on Gen 3, you only get so much bandwidth, but with Gen 4, you can double that. So basically, you can use 2 M.2s and keep the same speeds that you would on a single PCIe Gen 3. Now, as far as GPUs go, GPUs can't even touch Gen 3 yet. They're nowhere near maxing out that bandwidth limitation. So, and with the next generation GPUs most likely being 12 nanometers, I don't see that really pushing anything either. But if they're going for an intercommunication connection, which might be something that the companies are working on, basically a replacement for SLI and Crossfire, if they're doing that, then the higher bandwidth would come in handy. But for the most part, I just don't think it's going to be a big deal for at least 3 or 4 GPU generations down the road. All right, Sky Mage again. Chris, what are your top 5 games of all time? What was your first PC game? My first PC game, I don't even remember the name of it, was basically like a 3D Tetris. I think it was called Blocks or something. But basically it was just Tetris, but it went forward. It was kind of weird, but it was really cool. Excuse me. And then top 5 games, that'll take me a while, honestly. I actually had the list somewhere. I wrote it down because I'm like, I know this will come up at some point. But pretty sure Mario 64 is on there, Deus Ex, GTA 3, Halo, and I can't remember the other one. But that's kind of some of my tops of all time. Yeah, Crossfire already talks over PCIe, but more bandwidth is more better. More better. Bad English. Alrighty, guys. Well, I haven't seen too many questions about either the mismatched, world record type stuff or the IPC test. We had a few questions earlier, but anybody have anything else on those that they like to talk about? Any questions about Patreon, how the rewards work, anything like that? That's the main reason why I wanted to be here, is I wanted to explain why I need your support to do certain things, and then I wanted to make sure that it was very clear that I want to offer you value for that. So you help me, I help you, everybody wins. That's the only way that I can see moving the channel to that next level. The next level to me is the 50-ish thousand subscriber mark, and then past that would be the 100,000 mark. Now, we just need to kind of get over the hurdle and throw the snowball down the hill, and things start going and moving along there. So, also, if you guys have any thoughts about like doing some of those more personalized videos, did you guys care for that? I know some people didn't, but I wanted to put it up there mostly as an example to show, hey, this is something that I'd like to do. I would like to have a more human interaction with you guys. Willpower, you are an hour late, and I do hour-long streams, so you're very late. Lex, you mean Blockout? That might have been it. I don't remember. I was pretty young. I think I was 5 or 6 or something. I just remember it was awesome. It was really cool for the time. My dad literally bought our first PC for stuff like that. He's just like, oh, this is cool. And it was actually pretty fun. Yeah, I was trying something different. There's an approach. There's actually a rule of thumb when it comes to business. Don't create success, mimic success. So the thumbnails, I was trying to go for that minimalistic approach that seems to be doing very well in the gaming community right now. I wanted to try it out and give it a shot. I prefer the other way better too, and I'll probably be switching back to that. But you got to try new things, see how they go. It's just part of doing business. And honestly, if somebody else is doing something that works, steal their idea. If you want to be successful in life, that's what you need to do. I mean, do your own thing, but if somebody else has a good idea and is doing something better, just steal it. It's hard to come up with good ideas that work. Paul McCaw, I like the human video, a bit more chatty and makes different than regular videos. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Kind of do something different. Oh, speaking of which, let me go ahead and the next, another thing that I've been working on, this is going to take a while because I have quite a few videos uploaded at this point, but I'm going ahead and I'm actually organizing the videos into categories. Now, this is something I should have probably been doing all along, but they're going to just be much easier to find. Like if you're looking for a specific type of video, instead of going ahead and just searching out everything that I have, I'm going to go ahead and have the playlists a little bit more refined. Understanding tech terms, that's going to be a good one. I really think that that's something there. Like I want to explain like what is IPC, do a video on that, because a lot of people have no clue what they're talking about. What process change is. A lot of people have no idea. A lot of people think that 16 nanometer TSMC is somehow worse than the 14 nanometer Global Foundries because 14 is lower than 16. For those of you watching this and you're like, hey, that's what I think. That's not your fault. It's marketing that makes you think that. But I will go ahead and do a video explaining to you why that's wrong. And for those of you out there that know, realize that that's not the case. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we assume that the tech community understands, but they don't. So I'm really interested in building that one up. I really want to get back to Frame Rate Freaks. I really liked that logo. That's pretty, I just like it. The must-watch videos are the videos that I feel deliver the most important content. Like, these are the videos that I spend a lot of time on, and it's just like, you need to know this. This is pretty much if you're new to the channel and you haven't, and you're not really familiar with PCs all that much, or even if you're reasonably familiar or think you're familiar, watch these videos, and that will help get you up to speed on a lot of things. And there's nothing in there too opinionated. There's, of course, everything that I do has my opinion, but those videos right there are mostly objective, or I try to be as objective as I can possibly be. Games and consoles, that's stuff. This is going to get really big once we go ahead and go into the new consoles. Like I explained, how does it hold up today? That's a video series that I want to continue. I really enjoy that. But I'm going to keep the tech news and rumors. It's going to be shoved in its own category. Like I said, Unfortunately, this is the bread and butter of the channel, but this is what I like doing the least. I don't really like covering this stuff, but the channel would not exist without this. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I'm going to continue to do it, but I want to scale back to maybe one video a week. And if I can get away with maybe 1 or 2 a month, that would be great. I mean, big news is one thing, but I'm talking about this has literally been the only type of video I can do because you can do them so quickly. You just go online and read an article and then talk about it. And the channel has been growing. It's just at a slower pace than I would have liked. The GPC stuff we talked about, that's going to be pretty good. And then this right here, this is basically the same type of video as the must-watches, but it's less objective. It's just more of my opinions on things. That's going to continue to go. Basically, I want to move away from this type of video and go more into this type of video. So this video right here just assumes you don't know what's going on, and I'm just going to give you information and a quick opinion. This is when I assume that you already know what the heck's going on, and I'm going to give you my opinion and my reasons why. Because a lot of the comments in the comment sections of my videos are people that just don't have a clue. They don't understand how things work. For example, on like the PS5 video right there, I have people trying to argue with me using facts that are just straight wrong. And then I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to you because you don't understand the basic premise. When people are like 250% of GPUs, no, you only need like 1 tier above. It's like, dude, no, 30 frames per second. You know, you add 30% to 30 frames per second, you're not gaming at 60. And that's what I'm talking about. So that's why I want to have those videos kind of spread out and make it a little bit easier for you guys to kind of find the type of content that you like. So for example, if you like the channel for the rumors, you can find that easier. If you want to see more gaming stuff, you can find that easier. If you want to learn more about basic tech, you know, like what terminology means, I'm going to work on that and get more videos out on that. And of course, if you like the frame rate freaks and, you know, the IPC testing, easy to find. So I wanted to bring that up too, because that's going to take a little while sorting through all the videos and figuring out which category they tend to fit in the best. Willpower, not super into the tech videos. Yeah, I'm trying to be more diverse. The tech videos, unfortunately, I mean, that's what gets the views. That's what gets the views, which then gets the subs, and then I'm not really making any money off the channel. I mean, typically through ad revenue, only like $100, $200 a month. But it's better to get $200 than $100. So there's that. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think the playlist makes it a lot easier. I just never really thought about it because the channel's always been moving forward. You know, pretty much, I've always been thinking of the next video. I haven't been worried about the ones in the past. I'll reference the ones that I did think were important. But for the casual viewer out there that maybe wants to catch up on stuff, having things categorized and just easier to get to the type of videos that they're interested in, I think makes a lot of sense. Algorithm, I want to steal your thumbnails. I really do. But I don't know how well that would go over. Maybe on the next live stream, I'll bring one up and I'll get the community to react to it. Or if you guys want to jump over to Discord, Algorithm44, he will go ahead and show you the type of thumbnails he can make. And honestly, I like them. I think it'd be great. But why don't you go ahead and show that off. And if you're not a part of Discord already, jump on there. He's on there pretty regular. He's one of the moderators, so give him some shit. Sky Mage, Chris, have you ever wanted to be a game developer, and what inspired you? Yeah, of course. I mean, there are times that I wanted to, but I actually tried getting into game development. I tried learning, you know, C++, programming, 3D modeling, and all that. It just didn't stick. It's just not my thing. It's not what I'm interested in. I'm more of the story-driven guy. Like, if somebody wanted a premise, it's like, what should we be making? That's more my area of expertise. I'm good at just thinking things up, or if somebody has an idea, just altering it and tweaking it and making it most optimized as possible. That's typically where I tend to be at my best, is just looking at a situation, breaking it down, and figuring out where we need to go. Now, articulating it, I do have some problems with, and doing the channel over the years, I have gotten better at that. But that's another area that I need to work on, is being able to articulate a little bit more clearly. Sky Mage again. Man, this dude's killing it. Anybody else got questions? You can throw them on in there. But do you think cloud gaming will become a thing to replace mobile gaming consoles eventually? I don't think so. Not as long as people don't like input lag. The internet will never be fast enough. Speed of light has limitations. Yeah, it's fast, but it's only so fast. And I know people will argue that you can't perceive that fast, but you can definitely feel it when you add input latency on top of latency on top of latency. A wireless controller adds latency. From whatever box it is you have to your TV has latency. And then you're adding a shit ton of latency with internet. I don't care how fast it is. It could be 2 terabit. Doesn't matter. It's still going to have latency. So I don't think it'll ever completely replace it. For casual gamers, it might, because if, say, Microsoft or Sony says $10 a month, you get to play every game on this generation of console ever, and you don't have to buy a machine. Basically, all you have to have is a controller and a TV and $10 a month. Basically, Netflix the shit out of it. There's going to be a huge amount of people that go for that, but it's never going to completely dominate and take over, because there's still going to be people, either competitive people or just people that are sensitive to input latency. Just in general, they won't like it as much. So I just don't see it ever completely taking off. It doesn't matter how fast the internet is. Like I said, speed of light isn't fast enough. There's just nothing that's fast enough. Cobalt. Do you think AMD will increase the core count on 7 nanometers, like 6 cores per CCX? We did cover this before. They will go 8 core. I mean, they've announced that since the beginning of Zen. It will be 8 cores per CCX. Epic will have 64 cores and 128 threads. We've known that for a very long time. There are 4 die with 8 CCXs. 8 times 8 equals 64. It's just that simple. And with the 40% size reduction going to 7 nanometer, that means you can basically fit an 8-core 16-thread CCX on almost the same die as you can a single CCX, Ryzen at this point. It's going to be just a little bit bigger. So, yeah, that's the way it's going to go. It's not a if and it's not a maybe. This is from AMD. That's how it's going to happen. Sky Mage again. What do you think about the ambitious game project Cyberpunk 2077? That's completely different than your next one, which is Star Citizen. I could talk about that and other Kickstarter games. Well, Cyberpunk 2077 is different because it's not a Kickstarter game. CD Projekt Red is a powerhouse. I mean, they've made games that the entire industry goes, that's a good game. When you do that and there's really no backlash or criticism to them as a company, you can do whatever the hell you want. Now, Cyberpunk, we didn't see any gameplay, so I have no idea what it's going to be like. To me, it looks like a more open-world Deus Ex, which is cool. I think that'd be fine. People expecting The Witcher in some sort of cyberpunk futuristic environment, they're not going to get what they want, but honestly, that setting does not work well with the third-person RPG. That type of setting is better with the first-person aspect. That's just my opinion, because it works very well for Deus Ex. Now, as far as Star Citizen goes, that thing is dead. I mean, it's never going to go anywhere. They're begging people for money. They're basically doing what I'm doing here, where I'm like, hey guys, can you donate like $5 or $10? But they want like, what was it, $100,000 or $1 million out of you or something, or 20 grand, some sort of ridiculous ass amount of information or money from you. Like, you had to have already given them $1,000 before you could buy their next tier thing, which I forgot how much it was, but it was at least 5 digits. And I was like, how much money do you need for this? Realistically speaking, if you can't build a game on a $10 million budget, I don't care how ambitious it is. You need to get people to work for free if you don't have the money to pay them. If people don't want to work for free, they shouldn't be working on your project. It should have always been a community-made project. It should have been a fan-made project, something like Black Mesa, something that takes 10, 20 years. Doesn't matter how long it takes, but nobody's getting paid. They're not asking anybody for money. The fact that they did and they received so much money means that they are just terrible at managing funds and people. And yeah, I just don't see the game ever being finished. And by the time it does, it's not a graphical powerhouse anymore. It's not anything special. Back when it was originally announced, it was ahead of its time. It was using CryEngine to a degree that we'd never seen before. We're almost to the next generation of games. Cyberpunk is going to be a cross-generation game, and that's already coming out. Metro is probably going to be a cross-generation game as well, and it's going to have features that next-gen consoles can take advantage of. And realistically speaking, the longer you take to get your game out that is really heavily relying on its technology being more advanced than everybody else, the less interested people are going to be when everybody else has the same technology. I mean, Battlefield 1 looks so much better than Battlefield 4. I mean, if you think about it, and that's just over the span of just a couple of years. So they're losing ground, and honestly, if the game is really fun and it is finished, that's great. But anybody who's milking their community that hard after already receiving, like, I just need a bump. I just need a little help to get me down the road. So this way we can get the car started. You know, it's just like pushing a car down a hill. That's what I need. They've already had that, then upgraded to the Ferrari, and then now they're still crying that they're having problems. At that point, there's no sympathy. Hey, Steel N7. How long are you going to be streaming for? I'm on my way home. Well, I'm already over about 20 minutes, but if we keep having a good conversation, I'm good for another little bit, my friend. You can always reach me on Discord, and if you ever want to have like a chat, like I know you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, if you just want to have a chat or something, just let me know. We can schedule something. Sky Mage, once again, Chris, I think you need to actually check the game because you only need $45 package to play the game. Yeah, I know, but my point is when a game developer doesn't have a finished product and they're asking their community for more money so that they can finish the product after receiving, what was that, $100 million or some nonsense like that? I don't know. At this point, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's the best game ever made. Nobody give them another penny, and they need to finish it. If that means, like I said, if they have to work the next 5 years for free and live off of ramen and lose their houses and whatever, that's your fault. That's bad money management. You paid too much money to people you shouldn't have, and now pay for it. These are the consequences of running a business poorly. That means you have to work for free. That's what I do. I don't really get paid to do this. Like I said, I make maybe $200 a month and invest maybe 100 hours. It's $2 an hour. To me, that's slavery here in America. I mean, you have to work for free. You have to deliver the products first, or after getting that amount of help. Like I said, they've already gotten their helping hand. Now it's tough. Deal with it. All right, Cobalt, there are rumors that next-gen NVIDIA GPUs releasing in the next few months. There are a lot of rumors about next-gen GPUs coming out. I covered a few of them at first, and then I'm kind of like, that's enough of this. I brought up the AMD Polaris 30 because that's the first AMD thing that we've seen in a while. And I'm like, all right. It's theoretically possible, but... all right, sorry. And let's see. But what about all of the stock that they already have? Cough 300K. Well, I mean, they're going to sell them. Next-gen GPUs are going to launch at the 1080 and 1070 level, or 1180, 1170, that level of GPU, the 104 class GPU for NVIDIA's side. That means they still have time to clear out all the lower-end stuff, because they're not going to replace the 1050s for a long time. They basically ignore, and this is both AMD and NVIDIA, both companies ignore the low end because they're low margin buyers. They don't really care. Yeah, it's cheaper to make those chips, but they make less money off of each of those sales. Now, the 1060 level, they like that because they still make good money. But realistically speaking, they'll just wait. They'll hold off on the 11 series on those GPUs until the stock is gone. Or they might just donate a whole bunch of them to charity and write it off. I mean, there's a lot of options NVIDIA can do. Alan Turner, yeah, they could go that route, which would be 4-core, 8-thread, AMD on 7nm, 4-core, 8-thread for the R3, 8-core, 16-thread on the R5, and then 12-core, 24-thread on the R7, and then 16-core, 32-thread on maybe like an R9. They could do that. I mean, that might be a decent way for them to go. I do feel that the SMT will be enabled on all their chips, but I think that that's pretty good. Seymour Onion. Ramen is underrated. Ramen's good. It is. But try eating it every day for like 3 months and then come back to me. The good old slave. Rip. Well, hey, man. I enjoy doing this. I don't mind being a slave to this. But like I said, need some resources to get those new video series going because I need to buy things. And when I don't make money, I can't spend money. That's just kind of the way it works here. And like I said, it's just a snowball that rolls downhill. Once we have some money to invest, then we can go ahead and make more money, and then I can invest, and then that's how business works. Just kind of need that ball started here. That's the reason why bringing back the Patreon. And like I said, the best thing that I can offer you guys is my assistance, my help, and inclusion into the good old gamer. So that's why the $100 tier, if you're able to afford that, and I'm not telling everybody, hey, give me $100. There are people out there that literally make thousands of dollars every single day. $100 a month for those people is literally nothing. And some people can afford more. I mean, there are people that make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 every day. And, you know, I wanted to be able to bring those people in if they wanted to go ahead and help out in that fashion. Bring them into the business area because typically people making that kind of money are very business savvy and their opinions to me will really help out. Having other entrepreneurs help out with the channel, I think will make things better. More perspectives than just mine is great. Like I listen to everybody on Discord, but like I said, having it in a more business setting, roundtable discussion, I think that's actually gonna be super helpful. I'm really, really looking forward to that. Crazy Cat Guy, hello there. Happy 4th. Crazy Cat Guy. The Crazy Cat lady lives upstairs. I married her. All right, Steel Lens. Haven't hard to chat while walking on the street, but I'll keep watching. Like I said, buddy, this will be posted up here in a little bit, so you can rewatch it. Like I said, the first half of the video is me going over basically what I want to do. Second half is how I need assistance to do that. So that's kind of this one. If you want to talk one-on-one, Discord, all you guys, if you're not on Discord, join. I'm on there all the time. Just say, put the @theGoodOldGamer, and I'll look at it. I don't respond to all of them because sometimes the community will take care of it. And if I don't respond to you, that means I agree with something the community said. Willpower. Sushi is greater than ramen. Of course it is. It's also a lot more money. Lex, we have full-time tech tubers kind of stop playing games. It's bothersome. Yeah, tech tubers for the most part, it's hard because you have to cater to your core audience more than anything. For me, it's really hard because I'm like ultra part-time. Like I said, I only have maybe 2 or 3 hours a day of free time, and then I have weekends. I usually dedicate one day to the channel, and then one day I'm like, I need a day. So extremely limited on time. So I try to target my videos towards maximum appeal. Now, that's not always the case. Like the video where I showed off the pool the other day, I knew that was not going to do very well. But I wanted to see what kind of community reaction I would get out of that. A more personalized video, and wanted to see what sort of reaction that would generate. And overall, I think it was pretty good, but there were a lot of people that weren't very interested in that. That's why I wanted to go ahead and just kind of keep that to the vlog. That'll be for people that want to see that, people that are interested and want to have that sort of relationship. Most of the people that are watching this right now, you guys obviously want to interact and want a different relationship than just, hey, tell me tech news today. Just tell me the tech news. You know, there's a lot of those people out there, and that's all they want. And like I said, most of them don't even understand the tech news. And when I start talking about things, they just get freaked out. But if that gets me the most views, unfortunately, I have to go that route because that's what generates me the most revenue right now. That's where Patreon comes in, because then I don't have to worry about revenue so much. If we are hitting that $2,500 mark, that's enough. That's the bare minimum it'll take for me to survive. But I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to leave my job, which has 6-figure income potential within the next year or two, to go ahead and do this full time, which likely will never hit 6 figures. But I enjoy doing this. I like doing this, and I like interacting with you guys. This right here is a lot of fun. I very much enjoy doing this. If I could do this for a living, I'd rather be broke and doing this than rich and doing something that I don't enjoy. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I do need to survive. So that's why that's like the minimum threshold for me. But yes, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent on that one. But yeah, them not playing games, that's something that I want to get more into. I do want to do more games. Like I said, the whole How Does It Hold Up Today series, that's going to be about games. And if I had the free time, I would like to do game streaming. Like while I'm recording footage for a video, I would like to stream that. So this way we can all like interact while I'm doing that. That, to me, that makes a lot of sense. It's like a double whammy. All right, Sky Mage retracted his thing. Alan Turner, I upgrade PC's main CPU every 3 to 4 years, graphics cards every 2 years if market isn't messed up by Bitcoins. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, realistically, you can get away with CPUs almost every 10 years. What was it? Sandy Bridge 2600K came out in 2011, early 2011. It's going to be good through this generation of consoles plus 1 year. Let's say the Xbox comes out in 2020, give it a year. So yeah, that'll give you a solid decade before that CPU, for gaming anyway, is no longer an extremely viable option. An overclock 2600K, 2021, still good. Any GPU from 2011, not going to be holding up nearly as well. So yeah, those do need to be upgraded every once in a while. I don't recommend going by years, go by performance increase. Typically, if you wait for a 100% performance increase, you're going to see the gains that you want. Because if you're doubling your performance every time you upgrade, that means you can jump from one resolution tier to the next one, keep the same graphical fidelity and the same performance level that you're used to. So if you're gaming at 1080p 144, you double your performance, you can easily do 1440p 144. Same graphical fidelity, no problem. Newer games shouldn't be an issue. Now, if you're going up like from 1080p to 4K, that's 4 times the resolution. You're going to need some serious grunt. Realistically, we're not at 4K yet. Not for most people. The 4K Samsung TVs, though, I think those are really cool. I would love to get one of those on hand and test with my RX 580. One of those new quantum dot TVs that have FreeSync. I would love to see how those work out in real life. They offer 1440p 120 hertz. That's freaking great. Or the 4K 60. And with FreeSync, that's pretty awesome. So just throwing it out there, I would love to test one of those out. Seymour Onion, once the homestead is paid off, it opens up all kinds of opportunities. Yeah, I have a 10-year plan. We just bought the house last year. I want it paid off in about 12 to 15 years. So we were still a little ways out. But yeah, this is going to be the next thing. I got a couple other bills I got to knock out. Then, yeah, my cost of living goes down significantly. Without the house and a couple of bills that I have, I could live off of just about anything at that point. Hawk Opal, yeah, it's all about survival, man. I mean, that's life. Literally, when you were born, it's like, here you go, try to survive. I mean, that's it. I mean, the real survival game is life. If you know, some people aren't so good at it, unfortunately. But, you know, hopefully all of you guys are very good at it and we don't have that problem. All right, Lex, I'm staying with 1080p with almost all the new games being terribly optimized. I don't know, games are getting better optimized. If you look at the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 ports to PC, they're much worse than these. Now, current games just have too much post-processing and too many effects, and it just looks like a smeary mess, and it just kills frame rate. That's something that algorithm's probably going to spam the chat box about right now. He feels pretty strongly about that. But anyways, that's basically all it is they're just trying to make the games look as realistic and cinematic as possible. So if you just turn down some settings, there's a lot of tweak guides out there that are really good. Maybe that'd be a good video series, you know, tweak guides for new games. But realistically, that's not my forte, so I wouldn't be the best source for something like that. But they do have them out there to make them look and run better. All right, so SkyMage, if you had the opportunity to help an indie developer, would you do it? Sure. There's a lot of smaller games out there that I like. Like I said, I showed up that Battle Chasers game. That's a smaller game. I would consider it indie. It's published by THQ Nordic. yeah, if there's smaller indie developers out there that make games that I find interesting and that I like. Now, that's the trick. A lot of games or indie developers out there, it's just shovelware. But if they have good games, yeah, absolutely. They can always send me a Steam key or something and say, hey, we really want to do this. I would rather they reach out and talk to me first. I get Steam keys thrown at me for these little tiny indie games. And realistically, they just don't look that interesting to me. So there's nobody selling me on the game saying, this is why this game's going to be great. Somebody needs to talk to me and be like, look, we're doing something different. We're trying something like this. Or we're going back to an old school way of doing things. If they do that and it's like, yeah, that sounds really cool, I'll try it out. And if I think it's worth bringing up to the channel, I absolutely will. That's really the best way that I can help out an indie developer, is to expose them to the world. Willpower. I am not willing to lose $100,000 a year for you. I am willing to not make $100,000 a year for this. And for me, it's actually a double benefit. It benefits me and it benefits you, because I'll be happier and then I can generate more content. So everybody wins. And like I said, this whole live stream is about everybody winning here. A little bit of helping hand here helps out there. And that's just the way the business works. And I need the community's help at this particular point. And then at another point in time, maybe I can help you out. And that's just how life works. You help me, I help you. PlanetVampire.com. Must be hard to cover hardware without sorry, this is kind of hard to read. Without dissatisfying content or diversifying content. That's it. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired at this point. Diversifying content, especially during the time when GPUs weren't affordable. Got to be able to talk about something. Yeah, I mean, GPUs weren't that affordable. So at that point, we're talking about how GPUs weren't affordable. And if you look at the videos that I did, they did extremely well. And like I said, it's just weird how the community reacts to certain things. So without actually having product on hand, I'm kind of at the mercy of what's going on out there. That's why I'm really excited about this IPC test, because I have the hardware. I can go ahead and talk about it, and that's going to be pretty fun. So yeah, you're kind of at the mercy of what the community, what wave they're riding, and you kind of have to go on that to stay relevant. And that's the reason why you see a lot of channels, they'll pump out a video every day, and it might be contradicting the video that they just did the day before, but it doesn't matter, because people just want to hear something a lot of the time. And I want to take it to the next level. I want to generate content that's more interesting. Now, granted, there are sometimes that there's news that needs to be discussed. GPP and then that NDA thing was big. I know the community has kind of squashed it because Gamers Nexus said it's not a big deal. Well, I watched that interview and their lawyer said, I don't know, and I think way too many times for me to take his opinion seriously. It sounded very subjective instead of objective. To me, there's a company out there that does think it's a big deal, and they wrote that article that I covered. And then Gamers Nexus does not feel it's a big deal. So everybody now thinks it's not a big deal. That's like saying that this other company and their lawyers are wrong and these guys are right for no reason, because none of the topics were covered out there. So to me, that's really important, making sure things like that get brought up and discussed. All right. So Daniel Brook, when do you think 4K 60 mid-range PC gaming GPUs will be around, I guess? In theory, Navi 10, 7 nanometers, $400, maybe holiday season 2019, assuming. Yeah, probably. I'm assuming Navi will be a little bit faster than a 1080 Ti on its high end. It's probably going to be faster than whatever's going to be in the consoles by a little bit. So yeah, that'll handle 4K 60 pretty well. You know, you might have to go from ultra to high, or maybe even ultra to medium on certain settings if they're really resource demanding. But yeah, that level of GPU should be just fine for 4K 60 for most people. Make sure you have adaptive sync. If you're running 4K and you don't have adaptive sync, you are just crazy, because you are going to drop frames in something at some point. So make sure you're running FreeSync or G-Sync or something. FreeSync is a lot cheaper. G-Sync, I mean, it's the same sort of option, but at this point, you only have the option for the GPU from NVIDIA, and the monitors and TVs make more sense from AMD. That's what I think is pissing people off more than anything. It's the fact that they want to have the same options from AMD, because nobody really, not in the tech enthusiast community, nobody really wants NVIDIA, because nobody wants to pay more money. So if AMD literally had a 1080 Ti level graphics card right now at a reasonable price, the market, I think, would start shifting, especially with Samsung offering, like I said, FreeSync TVs now. And, happy 4th of July once again. We got a couple of those in there. Tamara Rockstar 45. You're working on a holiday. I feel bad. I used to work retail, so I would work every holiday. That's another nice perk of the new job, is I get holidays off. So less money, holidays off, more free time. Allows us to do things like this. So that's pretty nice. All right, so I'm just going to take like 2 more questions. My throat, I'm starting to get kind of dry over here. And trust me, the pool's calling. We just got that filter in. If you watched the pool video, I got the new filter in. It's awesome. There is a link in an Amazon link in there. So if you do have an above ground pool and you want a decent filter at a decent price, go ahead and pick that up. It was only like 150 bucks and it works great. Oh, we got the Varangian in there. Joe, what do you got? You're just spamming. PlanetVampire.com. Any predictions on the adoption of HDMI 2.1 and adaptive sync built in? Well, as far as I'm aware, HDMI 2.1, it's not like an optional thing like it is in DisplayPort. If you offer just HDMI 2.1, you have to offer VRR. It's just a standard that's built in there. I'm really curious to see if NVIDIA works around that somehow or just doesn't implement it. HDMI 2.1 it's going to be the standard, and it's going to be on all the TVs. Like I said, it's already on, Samsung's already supporting it through HDMI 2.0, through FreeSync. Everybody else is just going to follow suit next year. That's when HDMI 2.1 TVs are meant to come out. And at that point, G-Sync's dead. I mean, to me, it's already dead. The second Samsung started supporting FreeSync on all their TVs, older TVs, you know, that didn't support it. Basically, it's just a firmware update to support it. At that point, I'm like, G-Sync's toast. You can't beat that. Samsung is the largest manufacturer of TVs in the world, so you're done. At least for couch gaming. The BFGDs, they're just never going to catch on, except for rich people. All right, Daniel Brook, maybe you should create Amazon affiliates for UK, German, whatever. Well, you can click on the Amazon affiliate link and then just switch the language. I suppose I could do it for all of them, but it's like, that's more work for me, or you can click a button. Who's going to click the button? I literally don't make any money off the Amazon affiliate links. I get quite a few hits, a lot of clicks, but nobody's buying anything because I'm not talking about product for them to sell because I don't have money to buy it. It's part of that whole circle of life thing that I was just talking about throughout this whole live stream. Need the product first to talk about it so that if I like it, I can tell you I like it, and then I can tell you to buy it, and then you buy it, and then that gets more money so I can buy another product, and then we can keep going around in that circle. So right now, I'm not making any money off of Amazon, really. I think I made maybe $10 in the past, like, 2 months. It's like, to me, that's not even worth it. When I can make more money from Google ads, to me, it's just not a source of revenue that I'm really interested in right now because I can't deliver the content that would drive people to that source. Jordan Michael, what do you think about Gaben? I don't care. That's my official opinion. I don't care. Alrighty. So Joe, you say SkyMage had a good question. Where is he at? Sky Mage, no. Sorry, this chat box is kind of tiny. Do you think Intel will support FreeSync with their new GPUs? Intel already supports FreeSync on their GPUs, so yes. I mean, it's just that simple. They already support it. Why would they not support it? They're going to come out with free Sync. Like I said, it's already in TVs. It's being adopted into televisions. It's in every monitor that is not a G-Sync monitor. There's no reason for them to even try to compete with the mass market penetration that's already FreeSync. FreeSync has won, and there's nothing NVIDIA can do about that. Paul McCaw, Chris, I have to go. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for the $2 there. That really helps out. Thank you very much, and look forward to chatting with you. Hit me up on Discord. Hey, Willpower, I'm trying to get Joe back on here. He's just not sure that he's cool enough to mingle with the new crowd. All the new cool kids that have joined the Good Old Gamer since Joe's departure, they don't know nor like him, so he's afraid of that. Ryan, Joe is the Varangian, right? Yes. Joe and I started the channel together, and then he really wanted to do the live streaming, and we tried doing that with this channel, but it started just kind of getting in the way. Like I would do like a news video or an opinion piece or something, and then he'd have like 5 streams in between, and it was just getting hard for people to find the content that they wanted because most people were not interested in the streams. So it just made sense at that point for him to go ahead and start another channel. So he continued to do the live streams over there. So yeah, he's OG. He and I started this together, and I'm trying to get him back on. But like I said, he's been fighting me on it. Shut up, Joe. You are uncool. Get over it. But we love you. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it for me. I've gone over by about 45 minutes from my original plan, but I had a great time. I really do enjoy this. I know I only really do these on holidays, but it makes them extra special. It makes the holidays extra special. You can look forward to one of these on Christmas. Yeah, I suppose I could do that. Well, alrighty, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Keep an eye out for that new IPC video. We're going to start with the Pentium 4 series. You can kind of see where that starts off. And like I said, we'll go over kind of the testing methodology a little bit more in that video. If you really want to help me out, like I said, all you have to do is just jump on over. I'm trying to get it up here. To the Patreon account. You can go ahead and as little as $1 a month is really going to help me out here, guys. But if you wanted to take advantage of those other tiers, I do explain it in the video, the Welcome 2.0 video, what each tier has to offer. And anybody going for the Super Saiyan route, like I said, basically you're going to be treated like a board member as an investor. Your opinions are going to have extreme weight, and we're going to go ahead and have, like I said, monthly discussions and roundtables about the numbers and the analytics. So if you're ever really interested in how a YouTube channel works, you will get a free education. Well, I guess it wouldn't be free, but you'll get an education in there. But I thank you guys for all of your support, and hope everybody has a great 4th of July, which that applies to everybody. No matter where you are, it's still July 4th. And for you guys in America, have a happy Independence Day. I will catch you guys in the next video.